Welcome to the front lines. This is the Premier League on Hell Let Loose, where every match is war, every decision counts, and only the sharpest squads survive. 9 divisions, 57 teams, only on the TPL podcast, produced by Axe Hawk. Real conversations, real perspectives, and the stories that matter. Now, let's welcome your host, Sheepdog.
Hello and welcome to the TPL podcast. I am Sheepdog, and alongside me today for a really special episode of the TPL podcast, I have a well-renowned person in the Hell Let Loose space. This man is not only a part of the tournament organization HCA, which is the top PC tournaments for Hell Let Loose. He is also one of the top fraggers in Hell Let Loose. I'll be honest, I have a hard time keeping track. Currently, he is a Helios player. He's played for Helios for quite a while here, but he's played for a lot of well-renowned teams. Widow, thank you so much for joining me, dude. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Hey, you know what? Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being on this podcast with you. I'm excited to talk about, change the update and all that. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. And this is a really, I think this is a really important episode in a time frame. I've never in my entire time seen a tournament postponed because of an update. I remember just a weird story. I remember playing with Hellfire back in the day when APL, and I remember when they did the rework on El Alamein, and we had that map. The update dropped during the week, and they completely redone the map. And so, we played that map for that match that weekend. But this is a little bit different because I think, and we're going to talk about it a bit, but there's a reason why for this update specifically that some tournaments have already decided to postpone matches. So I'm really thrilled to get into it and talk about it. And, as someone who is a tournament organizer, when you're looking at this update, just in general, your first thoughts on um, how it impacts the competitive scene in terms of, I would honestly say it breaking the game almost, and how this is gonna shift competitive season for a while.
Yeah, so I've recently joined the HCA Orga about ago, and been pretty difficult so far navigating that a kind of team reps player into now an organizer. To kind of separate yourself from the game and the team, to put your mind to that orga, right? You need to be as fair as possible. And now with the new update, right, the first thing in the back of my mind, the rest is okay, what game breaking things gonna kind of release and be a part of these patches? And so when these updates drop, we gotta be on our feet, right? Because we have to run a tournament, and so these changes can be ranging from very small impact to now we're seeing they're very big impact. Now tournaments being delayed, TPL, and it's just hard and very difficult to navigate that.
It is. It really is. So let's go ahead. We'll start into it, and I want to start out with obviously the big thing, which is this new Stalingrad map refresh. And obviously, when they'd come out with stuff really early on about what this map was going to will look like because the last update that they did, other than hot fixes and stuff, was in April. So they took about 6 months at minimum to work on this refresh on the map. And when they first came out, obviously, this is a map that players well regard as Stuttergrad. This is a map that was not very well optimized. Lots of complaints about the openness of the map, but teams still played it somewhat in the competitive scene. So when you were looking at this and when they were initially coming out with hey, this is what it's going to look like with the big PTE tests and all of that, was this something that you were excited about? Was this something that you thought that this may be maybe bring Stalingrad more into the competitive scene. What were your initial impressions before the update even happened?
Well, honestly, a lot of people are not big fans of Stalingrad. Like you mentioned, the performance is kind of subpar, and it is like a very difficult map. But Stalingrad actually holds a special place in my heart, because it's one of the like maps that Helios were able to play and really find success on. And like prior, like on in the APL, which is like the American Premier League, which is like another one of like the big piece tournaments, Helios were actually able to make it to the final against another very top tier team, ESPT or Esprit Decor, and them in that matchup. And so like just for that reason alone, like Stalingrad holds a special place in my heart. I actually enjoy the map, and like the Stalingrad refresh, I was looking forward to it. I was like kind of hoping that the devs would like kind of like spice it up in a way that made it more viable, so you would see it more in comp. Like it's played like a decent amount, like you mentioned, but I think it'd be. And so, going into this rework and the PTEs, I was like looking to kind of have them add on to the map and make it more viable for, the MGs, the infantry, make sure like everyone's kind of included and happy. And I guess it's like my initial thoughts. I've only played the map twice in a pubs, and I've flown around, and like first impression, they seem to have fixed like some of the performance issues on the map, but they haven't really done the best job at like reworking the map. Like because they've added some assets, but the problem is that like the assets they've added are like buildings you can't go in, and the few buildings they have added, I feel like not much like variety or versatility than what was already there on the map. I guess from my perspective.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously, like the I think for when you're looking at it from a competitive sense, you're really looking at the primary focus is going to be on those first three middle points, right? Like, and these were three middle points that were very largely exposed for the most part, right? And so, like, when you had like that south point, for example, I think the north point, which was probably the more widely used among all the comp teams, like you see, like even like the PTE test when they had it, it was on was it train crossing on that north side, and then like that middle and that south point were extremely exposed. And many people have played it, and like the ridge line ends up being a huge factor in it for the Germans, and the wall on the east side is really important for the Soviets. So that I mean, and I've seen a lot of great comp matches that have happened on those maps. Like I remember, like the first time I ever casted for HCA, funny enough, was on Stalingrad. It was ESPT versus IR at the time, now Climbers United. But it's just very I have heard so many complaints. So for me, looking at it like them adding a lot of the things in the middle of the map, like additional train cars and trenches and all of this, is fantastic. But um, you know, the tough part that happens is you end up getting a lot of I'm gonna kind of feed this in a little bit into the armor rework, but what you're seeing now a lot is like there's just random things in the middle of these roads and other places where tanks are getting stuck on, like collisions. Like it's for tankers, it's maddening almost. It's like almost makes it unplayable at times. And I don't know what your thoughts are on like the some of these issues. I know that Razbora posted a video where he was showing some of the breakages on Stalingrad in particular with this armor update. But your thoughts on some of these game breaking glitches on Stalingrad, man.
It's kind of funny you mentioned that because when people were actually playtesting new rework, and they found out that funny enough, the Allies Katusha strike actually shoots out of the Axis HQ now, which that's pretty game breaking. I mean, if you don't, I mean,
Yeah. Oh
so
my god.
and like in the armor like aspect, I know some of the takers on Helios have like tested like both Russian and the Axis tanks, and like the heavy tanks are almost unplayable. Like I mean, I know said the IS-1 is really good now, but like the Panther and like the Tiger are like getting, and like even the Lukes are getting stuck on like these random invisible objects on the map, and
Right.
you know, just things like that are just things that need to be played. It kind of just goes back like to the whole thing with Team 17. Like I know recently in the past, like they fired their whole QA team, and they fired their previous community manager. So, it's just like, do they have a QA team? Like, are they actively like testing like these things? before releasing the updates?
I don't know, and this is something that, like, even and I would love to talk about that at some point because I know that this is something that has been addressed in multiple people's reactions, including like people like Smithers and Rasbora. But we're talking about this armor rework that's happened, and you can see here, like on the screen here, like some of the changes that they made were like changing the speeds between different surfaces, like roads and dirt and grass, which I think is great, right? Like I think that right there, like you rarely saw tanks go on roads in comp because you don't want to play open, but now, maybe changes the dynamic a little bit where it's like maybe I prioritize speed and getting to somewhere when it's so slow over snow and other terrain like that. But the problem now is like from a competitive sense, um, I would love it if you showed on screen. We were talking about how like before the podcast that one of the things that has changed is the terrain modifiers and the tank physics, and they have this video of this trench traversal that they do, and I Widow sent me a list of the bugs prior to this stream, and one of the bugs that he mentioned, I'll pull it up, is uh heavy tanks get stuck on everything. And like, so they make this big focus on, okay, we're gonna make tanks not get stuck on things, and now tanks get stuck on everything. And so, um, if you know, from your perspective, I know you're talking about like, the QA, like even if they have QA, not QA, the reality is that this is almost breaking it for comp. Like this is almost like, I mean, like we were talking about this at the beginning, and I'm curious as an organizer, but even as a player, um, this has already caused some tournaments, some teams to not play this weekend until they figure things out. And the dynamics of the game has already changed, and not necessarily for the better. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that as a whole.
Yeah, well, it's funny, like in the videos you can see and like what they said that they were gonna fix, the terrain issues, tanks would be able to climb over terrain, but most recent update has kind of proven the opposite of that. Like the heavy tanks are getting stuck on invisible barriers or small like little branches. Light tanks are getting stuck, and like just can't help to think like they increased the speed, and like I think maybe the speed may play into it because like a lot of players play on high ping. Driving on the high ping is already
Right.
painful enough, and now you add in the factor speed, the new physics with like the collision, and like I think that's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, you can see in the video here, this tank is upside down. Like it really is painful for the competitive scene and like tournament organizers because like how do you even navigate this now? Like this is a complete like meta change now with all these changes to the armor, right? Not
Right.
just the speed, like they added the whole like new kits, the salvage, like there's so many components they added that like for people to like actually break it all down and like we've seen bits and pieces of it over the past couple days, but there's still so many things that haven't been fully explored yet.
Yeah. So let's dive into that a little bit because like even with the breaks, there's these with the even the stuff that does work, there's stuff that's like changed the game entirely. Right. And so like I'm curious what your thoughts are. Let's see if we can kind of go like name by name on this and see get your thoughts on it. But the first one that I kind of want to look at is this what you mentioned is this the roles in the contextualized repair. So I thought it was really interesting about like having the ability to repair tracks individually, repair hull individually, repair engine individually. What's your thoughts on is this a good thing for not just comp but for Hell Let Loose in general?
I think it like so I view Hell Loose as like kind of like an arcade shooter, right? Like I don't view it like an Arma or like a Milsim type of like title. And so like what
Mm,
they've kind of went here now with like the more accurate like hey, if I'm repping turret, I'm not repping whole turret. I think it's a good step in the direction of like a game that's more geared towards like I guess realism and milsim, but this title is more arcadey. So now like this
yeah.
feature directly affects like the public matches, comp matches because now as you can see in the video, you can't like if you want to rep a certain part, like it doesn't rep a uniform And so like you basically you take a hit in a certain spot, and like now you're actually like your tank's right, which again, like in a more realistic title shooter, I think that's a great change. But in a competitive setting now, these players, these tankers are getting punished more by like, AT players, other tankers, and now like their tanks are out of the fight for longer. They're not able to like, like if their turrets hit, now they gotta get out of their tank and go to the top of the tank versus like being able to kind of rep from safety. And like that kind of creates like a big issue in the competitive scene, in my
Right,
opinion.
right. I agree, I agree, and then here's another thing too, because I've heard the moanings and the groanings, dude, is these anti-tank adjustments, and, obviously now, like, for heavy tanks, it's 4 hits, automatically 4 hits for Panzerschreck, Bazooka, Piat, and, I mean, which is that's pretty significant, and that will change things too because you look at like the chart right here, it's showing that like a lot of the the greens are the buffs, the reds the nerfs, and what's ended up happening is that like even with the 4 hits, the engine block health have been nerfed for all these tanks, but what they're buffing is like all the other health, all the degree changes and pitch rate for all of these tanks, the reload speed is getting improved in some of these tanks. The speeds are getting buffed in every single one of these tanks. I mean, it's absolutely so. Basically, what it looks like to me is like they're just overall buffing the tanks. They're increasing the speed on tanks, which is, I mean, for the Hell Let Loose competitive scene, especially on the PC side, we've seen the meta over the last year or so at minimum is double tapping, playing long distances, and this kind of goes against all of that. This kind of changes the meta. And when you add like some of the technician loadouts, which I'm really curious, your thoughts on being able to change add repair stations, and because obviously this is something that like we've seen repair stations be a part of the meta for quite some time for the PC side, beyond like the old school. We still see this in console, by the way, of the tank simping, but that's not really been a meta for the PC side for a long time. So um we're seeing the dynamics for tankers change astronomically. And I I'm curious, like, do you anticipate really people changing? Like, do you see that people play like try to use this updated speed, play more aggressive? Because if your health is significantly higher, right? Especially for a heavy tank, and you're faster, you would think that now tanks are maybe more incentivized to play more aggressively with less infantry support because if you get hit, it ain't gonna hurt as bad on your tank. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, and if it's a good thing or bad thing if that meta is changing.
So I think like meta changes are always nice, especially the current comp meta has failed. I think there's been no like major change in the past for this change from free gun arty to one gun arty. So I think a change up is nice, but I guess kind of like more about like the issue. Um, it takes longer to rep now. Prior to this update, you
Right.
could rep a tank quick. So now to hit is a lot more dangerous because it takes longer to rep, and also you have to rep in specific spots where you get hit. Uh, and like the other outlying issue now is like the limited heavy tanks, right? Prior to this, you could have 5 heavy tanks on the field, but now you're limited to 2 heavy
Right.
tanks, and like now having like that 10-minute cooldown in between like heavies, like if your tank gets stuck, now heavy, or if the tank dies, having to wait that 10-minute cooldown. So it's going to see like a meta shift with like you're going to see mediums use more, like the free tanks are going to have more viability. And like kind of like cycling back to the AT thing, I think that was a very poor decision, upping the number of rockets, because now like a medium tank taking 3, heavy taking 4 rockets is like detrimental because each loadout AT loadout kit only gets 2 rockets, right? So
So
now
right.
it's impossible to kill a medium, impossible to kill a heavy tank. Now, you can still engine a tank, right? Because they nerfed the engine block health, so you can engine a tank in 2 rockets and basically disable it. Kind of like seems counterintuitive, this idea of if you're gonna buff like the amount of rockets tanks like amount of rockets it takes to kill a tank, why are you going to nerf the engine block health? Because now that tank it might as well be dead if its engine's dead, right? It's just going to sit there until it eats another rocket. I guess it's my outlook
Yes.
on it.
I agree, and I think and you bring up an interesting point about like this whole dynamic of the two tank max, right? And so like first off, salutes and farewell to the three heavy tank push. That's gone forever, unless they decide to bring it back, which I don't anticipate them doing. So
Oh, absolutely not.
so that's gone. And then on top, because I agree. The positive side to this is at least they buffed the mediums and the lights, alongside with limiting heavy tanks, right? So like at least like they made it more incentivized to use other tanks, especially free tanks, right? But man, like um it gets so tough. I mean, you read the description, right? One of the things they said was like, um, they are emphasizing the toughness of the heavy tanks without impacting medium and light tanks. Meanwhile, the anti-tank rifles PTRS and Boys AT have received a small damage buff when firing at the hull and turret, making them slightly more effective against tanks. Which, in the comp scene, like who's freaking using anti-tank rifles and PTRS, right? Like, I mean, do I see that happening? I mean, I would have thought they would have had to buff it significantly for that to be any part of the meta at all. And but we'll see. I mean, I'm curious to see. I mean, as you know, and everyone knows, everyone's in the freaking event servers. Everyone's in like clawing at every single detail they can figure out about this new update, every single one, and they're gonna find stuff. And I mean, I hear rumblings here and there. One of the things that I've heard is like on the commander side is like, so if they've limited it to mediums, one of the things that they've added is salvaging this wreckage. And I don't think they've said specifically how much you get back. So I don't know how much fuel you get back from salvaging these wreckage. Obviously, the wreckage is something like um they've really only played two roles in this game. One is that like uh they block the path for other tanks, so then they have to send two shells into it to get rid of it, right? So like there's that. Um and then I mean, and two, I guess it's an obstacle that like maybe get a free shot or two if you're engaging with a wreckage in between you. I mean, that's it. I mean, so at least they added something to make it functional. I mean, like, I'm curious, does it change the meta at all for the commander in terms of like fuel allocation and all that? I mean, it's really, I mean, they added it to recon, which is so interesting that like so like people are gonna be behind the lines salvaging wreckage to get additional fuel for their team, dude. Like, I'm am I crazy for laughing, dude? I'm just like part of me is like it's
No,
so off the
yeah.
wall.
I think it's like it's an interesting concept. I just don't know how much viability it has in a game like because like I believe I'm not now I could be wrong on this exact number, but I think it was 10% of the total fuel. So like a heavy tank, I think you salvage it and you get like 50 fuel or like 100 fuel. Like so I don't remember exact figure, but like that's for a heavy tank. So whatever a medium would be, whatever 10% of yeah. So like it's not a
Okay.
very significant number. Meta shift because like there's not as many heavy tanks in the field, you're already going to have a fuel surplus in most cases because of the simple fact
Right.
that the mediums are cheaper and you have less heavies in the field. So I don't really know that it was a worthwhile change,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
It's so weird because it's like if you had made it hard, like if you'd allowed people to buy more expensive things, then yeah, it would make sense that like people are going to be scrounging for fuel. But in comp, nodes are protected. So it's not like, I mean, they're going to be getting maximum fuel, right? Because like commanders know how to literally maximize their encouraged option. And so like it just doesn't make any sense. So that's a lot of the armor stuff, right? They've done some sound effects and stuff. But let's talk about this is one thing by the way. So they're showing on here. This is that supply thing. It's a small little thing. I actually think that's a really smart thing where it's like, I mean, how many people have like put supplies in the wrong place and like, and now you got to put a garrison down and it's like in the wrong spot. So I do like this. I do like this option of like the support player being able to pull up their supply box. I think that's at least a functional thing. It's a small thing, but it that that right there, that is good attention to detail. I think that's a I don't know. I didn't even know that that was like I didn't process that as a problem. I don't know if you've ever had this problem, Widow, but like I mean, it fixes something. In my opinion, at least. But
Yeah, it's one of those features that really should have been early on. I think that coming this late in the game is kind of like fortunate, but
yeah,
I guess it's one of those things where it's better to have it now than never because of the simple fact that more of like it helps hub match help comp because your berries like may not be as aware of like, supply ranges, right? Like a lot of people don't know that there's that 50-meter threshold from where you shop your supplies to where you can build a garrison. So like, if people are not aware of that, they'll drop their supplies and like, oh crap, I didn't drop it close enough. And now being able to pick those supplies up saves like your SL the heartache of wait for another player to cycle out and get supplies or commander to drop a supply drop. So I think it's a great change. But just it would have been a lot better sooner. But yeah, I think it benefits the pub side more than it'll benefit the comp.
I agree. I agree. Um, so let's talk about something that's game breaking. Literally game. I mean, like, and I just to put in perspective, this is something that like within 24 hours of the update coming out, um, every major tournament that I know of banned it, and that is this artillery strike. Okay, because the first thing that like everyone said was this is this is OP. Like this is like it's crazy. Like this like thing where it's like you could send 3 artillery strikes that and each one costs 100 munis and they destroy spawns, which I mean obviously like there's the reason why people use bomb runs and peace strikes on spawns because they destroy spawns. I mean, like if you can destroy a hard cap spawn, it's huge, especially if you time it correctly with your pushes and all that. So, um, as someone who is part of an organization that banned artillery commander ability, I mean, well, what's the thought process where it's like it's too game breaking, we have to get rid of it right off the rip?
I guess speaking from our perspective, the biggest game breaking thing was the fact that it can kill garrisons, right? And because you can get
Yeah,
3 strikes, you can kill up to 3 garrisons, which in competitive is a huge play because you generally know where because there's only so many Gary spots that you can do that are like I guess quote unquote meta. Um, and even like thinking beyond competitive pubs, right? There's a serious problem with like garrisons on the map. So like in pubs, it's even worse. If your garrison goes down in a public match versus a comp game, it's even more devastating. This new feature, I mean, it's just game breaking. Now, if we didn't kill garrisons, I guess you can make the kind of the argument that like, hey, like now we have like a pseudo arty replacement in comp. Like if we want, we can get rid of the one-man arty and just have this be a supplement thing because of the short cooldown and the munitions trade-off. But also on top of killing garrisons, this thing can destroy almost every buildable in the game except for barbed wire. So it can destroy level 1 bunkers, tank traps, Belgian gates. It can one-shot recon tanks, one-shot light tanks. Um, I'm not remember the exact specs on like the mediums and the heavies, but I don't think it can't kill the heavies, but I think it might be able to damage the mediums. But like that ability right there is so devastating with the amount of damage it can do just outside the garrison. So like I think it needs more balancing before it can be introduced fully to like the competitive play. And we're already seeing that with the public games. I mean, friends that have commanded pubs that they're dropping, I mean, 130, 140 kills as commander. I had a friend that dropped 230 kills in offensive with the dang ability. So it's just so powerful right now that it's just crazy to think about.
yeah, it's crazy. Like, and I think like what's so interesting is like so this is where I really struggle with Team 17. So like there's this issue with overall the update where it's like they're trying to accomplish one thing and then they like completely disregard it with the other, right? So like for example, you make an ability that's really cheap for the commander, to one tap tanks, but then you make heavy tanks more scarce. So you make it a hard so tankers just hate life. Like tankers just there's like zero incentive for tankers to play this game. I hate to say it like that, but you made driving more difficult. I mean to be fair, you made your tanks more protected, right? But then you made your tanks more scarce, and on top of it, the good news is that we added cosmetics, so that's brilliant. But in order to add the cosmetics, you have to have a technician put it on your tank to get the cosmetics, and one of them is to make the PZ4 yellow. So which I'm like, cool. You made it. You made a bumblebee. That's great. That's awesome, dude. I mean, I will say this: the one thing I do like that they added on this tank update is in that technician loadout where you can create a resupply station for armor squads. I do like this, right? Because this is something that hasn't really been addressed really or ever said. But I think it's well noticed. And that's this if a tank runs out of munis, what do? There's two options, right? You run your tank all the way back, right? Or you stage a tank, right? And as you're running out of munis, you have a crew member go get the tank and drive it to the front lines, right? And so this changes that meta. And I'm actually for that. I don't know about I'm for the ability to refill the tanks, especially if they're destroyable, right? Which they are clearly. This is something that could be destroyed by this arty strike. So I'm curious on that specific that technician loadout aspect with things like barricades, repair stations, ammo depot, all that. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Um, I think it's interesting, honestly. Like, I think giving tankers the ability to have more versatility of being able to build rep stations, ammo depots, barricades. Now, they don't have to solely rely on infantry capable as long as the
Right.
supplies are there to kind of take care of themselves, and that gives them more freedom to actually do those things. But the only drawback I would say is that this kit, the technician has no repair torch. So basically what that means is now instead of having 3 torches to repair, you have 2. And so with the low repair speed now, it kind of hurts your
Right.
tank. Yeah. And so you gotta think okay, that's gotta be the gunner now that has a technician kit, but then because when I take a shot, the driver, the spotter are the ones that usually hop out to repair. Well, now the gunner has a technician loadout, so now he would have to cycle out these rep stations wherever, and it just creates this whole chaos of trying to you know, or I guess musical seats, I guess is the best way to word it. Um
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean I guess another thing too is I know I mentioned briefly before this the bug with the new skins, the DLCs, where if you apply the skins
Yes.
to the tanks, it causes the bug where it gives the enemy team wall hacks, kind of because they can see the outline of your tank across the map. And it's a big bug that the devs, and community managers still have yet to address. And they are still, it's the skins are still on the people can still spend $3 in these skins, but they actively hurt you, and that's just crazy to think that you release content like that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? It's you pay to lose. We get mad about pay to win, right? In other games, and I think Hell Let Loose overall has done a good job of really not making pay to win type bundles. And honestly, truth be told, they haven't really. I mean, they certainly aren't doing microtransactions like other games are. But this one's broken. I mean, this just this one. I mean, do they fix it? I'm sure they'll fix it relatively quickly, right? They have to. They have to. I mean, literally. I mean, this is little wall hacks. I mean, they have to fix it. So we'll see what they do. But it's really interesting. Let's talk about a bug real quick before we move on to anything. In this bug cracks me up, dude. And this is something that you've sent me pictures and all this. This is this satchel bug, right? And so part of what was talked about beforehand, before this podcast even started was that the rockets changed, but the satchels didn't. Except for the fact that if you put a satchel on a tank, it floats and it can't be diffused. Um, like and I don't know what else to say other than like I'm with you. Like, where is this QA team? Like, where is? I mean, like floating satchels that can't be defused is maddening. It's just absolutely maddening. Like it's comical. It's comical, Widow. Like it's just. I mean,
It really like it just speaks volume. You know, like this is the importance of having a QA team. And if you're not going to have a QA team, you have a whole host of community people that are willing to test this for you, right? A whole like tankers that are willing to devote hours upon hours to fix this for you, but yet you still want to release an unfinished product. And I think that's what people are so upset about, right? Because
yeah,
like it's kind of like a domino effect. Just like you know, they recently announced that they're coming out with that Vietnam title, right? And like that they would still provide some game if they want to focus on that. And like see an update like this, and it's kind of like damning. You're like, man, if they like are struggling this much to put out content like this and that doesn't break the game, are they going to be able to replicate that for a whole new game on a whole new engine? And
right,
like, just it just doesn't give you much hope. And like, I guess the do here to like is listen to the community, listen to the voices telling them, hey, like this is messed up, but we can still work back from this. We can revert the update, release the playtest, have people come in, do the work to prep and see the issues, the bugs, have them addressed, because like this update, if it would be phenomenal, right? Like the player count would have went up, not down. Like because people would have been coming back. Like, hey, look at all these new armor changes. Look at like the new refresh. There's so much content, but because the game is unplayable and all these things are broken, people don't want to entertain it. Like I don't blame them either,
right,
honestly.
right. And I agree. And I think, and I keep going back and forth, right? Because like, because we haven't even mentioned the server crashes, right? So like, there's been stuff like, it, like stuff like, I like the idea of a new FOV slider. I really do. But when it breaks the game, this is an issue. When you have Archon issues that are crashing the game, this is an issue. When you have um flare bugs that cause both teams to see friendly and opponent flare circles, where it's just like basically like you're allowing cheating to happen. It's not really cheating because no one's trying to do this. This is just being given, right? Like, listen, I get it. Like, am I complaining? Am I complaining because they're bringing new content? Part of it is like, did I really even want a Stalingrad in the first place? Like, did I want? No, I didn't want it. Did I want to change to the armor meta? No, I didn't really want it. Like, I didn't like, and other people may, right? Other people may have wanted it. That's fine. But I didn't want more speed on the tanks. I didn't want a cap. People were saying this everyone knew that this was coming, and people kept saying this is not what we want. We don't, at least in the competitive side, we don't want a cap on tanks. We don't. Like, what's the point? Like, why? Like, why would we cap? I mean, like, if you dominate tank wise and you get enough fuel, I should be incentivized to run three heavies if I want to. That's like, so I don't know, like, if it's a balancing effort, I kind of get it. But at the same time, like, now I will say that, like, on the flip side, obviously, the the code is junk, right? And this is a well-known fact, right? That like the code that Team 17 had to deal with is awful. And hopefully it's new code, right? Because they're running an Unreal Engine 5 versus Unreal Engine 4 for Hell Let Loose Vietnam. But even still, the I think the issue may be related to more of like they had, because my opinion is like, you mentioned like have them run through PTEs. They've done this. They ran through PTEs. They ran through all of this. I mean, like you take 6 months for an update, and it just literally like puts competitive Hell Let Loose on a standstill when you release the update. Like that's how bad it is. It's like literally like almost all Hell Let Loose competitive is stuck. Literally stuck. They can't do anything. And so, I mean, it almost makes, when do I almost ask, like, is it worth updating the game? Like, if this is what's gonna happen, is it worth updating? hella lose if it just like, especially if it's things that people don't want, right? Like it's just, I mean, I don't know. When I asked you, like, and you said Stalingrid was something that you had hopes for, right? But in terms of like the armor meta, I mean, is this something that you're looking at and you're like, man, I really wish that we had faster tanks. Man, I really wish that we had a two cap on heavies. I think
Honestly, like, no. My goal was like I wish that like they would just balance back so simple.
mm,
I mean, like you think about this perspective, right? Like Axe P4 medium can only be rear penned by allies AT. The Axis heavies, both of them, can only be rear penned by the AT. Then you look over the
yeah,
allies, right? The medium can be front penned, side penned, and rear penned. The heavy can be side and rear penned. So like right of AT imbalance, right? And you could argue, sure, the Axis AT gets the Kar 98, the Allies gets the M1 Grand, but at the end of the day, at the higher levels of competitive play, and the good like pub players are gonna run that Axis loadout and be able to do more damage against their tanks. And now with this new update, both those combining, it just creates this negative effect. And now it basically means
right,
that Axis is like so overpowered because of the changes. And it just kind of begs the question, like what you were referring to earlier about like the updates. This update is completely basically bricked the game, and yet they're set on releasing another update in literally less than a month in November. And it's just
crazy.
how like,
With
how could
already
yeah
rework, by the way, which is a whole that's a whole new gamut, right? Like, so like it's not just the fix stuff; it's to literally like change the meta, which is something that's like been a huge issue in comp. Like, there's been huge changes in the already meta, and now like, and does anyone even know? Here's my thing: no one knows. No one knows what the changes are to Artie. They just said that they're gonna make changes. So has anyone asked what comp wants for Artie? I mean, they're making changes to the meta, but we don't even know what it is. Like,
I can say is that
with
they
a
don't
month,
care.
they may
Like
not. They may not. I mean, I don't want to rag on them too much. I want to talk. Let me at least talk about some good stuff from this update. Okay, so let's talk about some of the QOL stuff. And what I like is the admin cam stuff. I like this ability to see both teams on the map. I love it. It's something that, like, I mean, Widow, you're a caster, you're in Orga. This is something that like we've had. I mean, part of the reason why teams want two casters for each match so that they can see both sides. And now you don't have to do that, right? Like, you don't have to worry about dual casting anymore if you're a solo caster. Like, now you get to see, and I think they fixed it to where you could see uh red for the opposite spawns as well now. If they haven't, I'm sure they will do that change. But I love this. I love that now you can see it on both maps from attack map perspective. I love that. I don't know, is this something that excites you? It does for me as a caster.
oh, I mean, absolutely. This is something they have needed to have years at this point. Like every like major FPS title, you think of like Call of Duty, CS:GO, or Rainbow Six Siege. All of their
Right.
casters have the ability to see both teams. So this has been like a missing element now for the longest time. And so them adding this into the game now opens up so many like possibilities now. If you have one cast sides, see like these plays unfold, and see like the actual like, oh hey, like they missed this OP, or, like these tanks are here fighting each other. It's just it truly elevates the casting in this game. I think a lot of people are gonna enjoy being able to see both sides, things to be caught better by streamers.
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree, and I think that this is gonna be able to, as a caster, for it sometimes you just you end up looking for stuff sometimes just because you're like, I have to know where they're spawning from, right? And so you go chase it, and now I no longer have to chase it, right? So now I can better focus on providing a seamless stream and a broadcast for people, and I love that. Here's so let's talk about a few things because they added some stuff that I don't. There's stuff that they added, and I don't think people are talking about it much just because like it doesn't. it doesn't really suit anyone's fancy. And this is what's so interesting is like, so they add skirmish for Stalingrad, right? And they add like, for example, like some of the changes that they've made apply only to skirmish match. Like for example, right? So they announced that they're doing dynamic weather, which is something that I'm a huge advocate for. Like I think that like if you're wanting to add to the competitive experience or even just Hell Let Loose as a whole, right? You get like the like the on the screen right now is the Drill rain stuff with the lightning and all that. But that, by the way, only applies to the Drill offensive maps. Doesn't even apply to Warfare, just to the offensive map, which no one's doing offensive tournaments, right? So it's only for the pubs. Okay. So I mean, just okay, fine. And now they add LL Main Sandstorm, which does apply to Warfare. Okay, so it does apply to Warfare. But like, here's where I struggle with, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. What I struggle with is like if you look at Tobruk, I've been a big advocate about like, hey, let's add new maps to comp, right? Like let's change it up. As a caster, I get bored sometimes of the meta maps, right? Um, but like the sandstorms make it impossible to cast because you can't see anything. Like as a caster, like it doesn't. And on top of it, do I think it makes Main more playable? I'm curious what your thoughts. I think it does. It sure seems like, because if you have an open map, the best way to make it more competitive is to decrease visibility. So, I mean, like Widow I'm curious what your opinions are as a caster, but also as a player. Is this better for comp to add things like dynamic weather to decrease visibility and stuff? Or
So I think from a cast perspective, I don't think dynamic weather is great. And like the sands make it kind of cast. Like you can't see anything, you know. And I think like the rain and all that, I think that's okay because you can still kind of cast it. It kind of adds like that, I guess,
yeah,
realism factor. And I think again, like going back to what I said earlier about like, the whole realism thing, I think dynamic weather is good if the game were geared more towards like that realism aspect. But again, it's an
yeah,
arcade shooter, so from like a competitive standpoint, and I think dynamic weather is bad because it kind of forces people now like it's no secret. People still use NVIDIA filters, right? People use NVIDIA filters to cheese the night maps, and so with dynamic weather, they use the to cheese even harder. So on those maps that have those sandstorms where you can't see anything, you best believe people are using filters to sandstorms. So I'm sorry,
yeah.
it adds a complete competitive disadvantage to those that are not using NVIDIA filters. And so like from that point of view, I think dynamic weather is bad. And like funny enough, in HCA, we've actually had conversations about turning off dynamic weather for those maps because of reasons like that.
That's such an interesting point because, like, especially in a pub where you got guys who like they're not in comp, right? So they probably don't know about doing NVIDIA filters, and they're not like maxing out their specs or whatever to play. They just want to play. And then you have on the other side where like they're unaffected by dynamic weather because of their filters. So now you just increase the skill gap. I don't even know if it's a skill gap. You just increase the performance gap between these two types of players. And so you just made all these guys who don't sweat it out want to play the game even less. Like it's like you just made the game more Tarkovy, and you didn't really need to make it Tarkovy. Like you just like which, by the way, what I'm getting from this is that Widow is an anti-LARPer, is what I'm getting from all this. So if there's one takeaway to be taken from this TPL podcast episode, it's that Widow is anti-LARP. Uh,
Well, I mean, so it's actually funny. When I first bought this game, I actually bought this game to LARP. Like I was a LARPer. Like, I that was my sole reason for buying the game with my friends, for to just LARP and meme. And my first community actually was a LARP, so to speak. And so like that holds a special place in my heart. And like, don't get me wrong, like, I if I'm gonna buy a game, like I'm gonna do that. Like that's what I'm looking forward to doing. But like I ended up getting involved with the competitive scene and like, leaning towards the more competitive side of this game. And these updates that they've released in the game have been more arcadey, leaning more towards like the
Yeah.
Call of Duty-esque gameplay, I guess I'll call it, right? They increased the movement speed. They added all these features with like infantry and whatnot. And like that kind of caters more towards like the, I guess I call it the Gen Z people, like the people that are playing like those crazy like, arena shooters like Apex Legends and all that. Because like Hell Loose Dabs, I guess we're trying to draw like a diverse crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. I I just when you said making it more COD-esque, I was like, yeah, but they haven't added any Lizzo skins yet to Hello Loose, which I'm still waiting for, dude. Like, imagine like Lizzo playing Hello Loose, bro. It'd be wild, dude. Or even better, do you know what it need? Yeah, so instead of the Red Army Cossack package, give me a Shane Gillis DLC package for Hello Loose, dude. Give me that Shane Gillis DLC, dude. Like, can you imagine just like Shane Gillis in some uh USGI uniform, dude, running around. I mean, bro, imagine, dude, he would so promote the game, dude. I mean, he already kind of promotes the game. Like, imagine, like Shane Gillis would put Hell Let Loose on the map if you gave him a DLC, dude. Like, it wouldn't be that hard either. You just gotta add his face. That's all you gotta do. Make a Shane Gillis face for each faction, dude. Shane Gillis, bro. You're just gonna have 49v49 Hell It competitive Shane Gillis face for every single, like, bro. Just watch, dude. It's gonna be like that's what Team Seven needs to do. Don't worry about fixing the game. Don't worry about bugs. Just focus on the Shane Gillis DLC. I'll buy it. I'd pay $15 to play Shane Gillis in Hell It Loose. I don't know about you, but that's what I would 100% pay for that.
It's better than some of the DLCs they've released. And like I know we were talking about the Red Army, the Cossack DLC is released. And funny enough, I was in the official Hell Loose Discord and I noticed a little thread about the DLC. I clicked on it out of curiosity, and it turns out the DLC they released is actually inaccurate because in the top part of like the Cossack like little headgear, there's is white stripes in game, but in reality, it's the research and it's actually like gold. It's supposed to be gold stripes instead of white stripes. So they actually got the DLC hat wrong. People that spend the money to pay for this DLC, it's not even like historically accurate because of those mystical details. And it just begs the question of who is like doing the design work for this? Are they just not like doing research? Have they like gutted their, team that much that they literally have a skeleton crew working on this game? Because that's what it feels like, they're messing up these up the servers, the everything. Like it's just man, one thing after another.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna dive into this, but like it almost like begs to be talked about. And that so let's go back to when Hell Let Loose Vietnam was first announced, right? So you have this trailer that comes out that everyone saw, right? And Das Altberg does a stream afterwards, and he's giving more details, right? And so some of the things, and I remember hearing him, and he was one of the questions was like, "Is Team 17 like basically abandoning Hell Let Loose for Hell Let Loose Vietnam?" And they said no, and basically said like, "We're gonna have a team working on World War II, and we're gonna have a team working on Vietnam." And my first thought was, "No, they're not. There's no way. Not for long." I mean, because there's basically three things that happen with this, right? You have Hell Let Loose Vietnam becomes successful, right? And they're like, because you can't play two games at once. So they're like, I'm gonna start playing Hell Let Loose Vietnam because I like it better than Hell Let Loose World War II, right? Well, at that point, at some point, they're going to be like, "Well, I'm not going to put money, with basically dev time, into supporting a game that people have already moved on from." Right. So, two, they split their player base because some like Vietnam and some like World War II, and now they got to do it. But like, we've already seen the dev support for Hell Let Loose World War II, so it's just like it's just going to be the same damn thing, right? Or Hell Let Loose Vietnam is a flop. And now they're back to square one doing Hell Let Loose World War II. And same issues. Like, well, like the updates and whatever. I mean, like, and now what? We got to look forward to Hell Let Loose Pacific. Like, is that? I mean, like, it's just there's so many issues. There's so many issues with this. Which, by the way, this trailer the whole like this whole opening isn't even gameplay. Like it's clearly like just cinematic. I mean, like
Right.
just uh
It
Widow, help me.
yeah,
Help
it's
me,
just
dude. Like
disappointing, man. It really is. And like that's not fact that they're dropping 2 updates that are like loaded with content back to back during a sale doesn't reinforce the fact that they're gonna support the game either, right? Because it kind of like
right.
in my mind, it's like they're gearing up to like this is it. This is the last big like content drop they're gonna do at a time they're trying to milk the rest of the sales, start the Christmas sale and fall, right? And then the New Year's gonna hit, and then they're like, okay, yeah, now we'll make this pseudo roadmap or these small changes. But then, like you mentioned, Hell's Vietnam's gonna come out, and then they get like, oh, this is more profitable. Let's basically put Helldivers World War II on the back burner. And so like that's my biggest fear. And right, and like, as I said earlier, the fact that they can't even put together like comprehensible updates for their current game on a current engine, and they want to do this whole new engine, I just think that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Yeah. And this really begs the question of like, to me, it's like if you were to tell me like, hey, we're not really doing much for Hell Let Loose World War II because we're gearing up for Vietnam. Part of me is like, fine, I get that. Don't do any updates for this game other than bug fixes. Don't do new content. Don't do whatever. Work on this new game. That's fine. Like I get it. When you buy Hell Let Loose for $50 million, you gotta make your money somewhere, right? Like I'm not blind to the fact that they gotta make money. I mean, part of me is like, bro, they haven't been doing microtransactions or anything. So like I don't know how they're affording to live right now with Hell Let Loose. I mean, they bought a $50 million title that they guarantee you they haven't made come close to making their money back. I could be wrong. Team 17, if you want to send me some financials, like hit me with it. I'd be more than happy to read it. But like, I mean, and so now, like, I think you're right, dude. I think we're in this stage now where it's like we're seeing the transition. This is the transition. This is the last hurrah of Hell Let Loose before we see Hell Let Loose Vietnam. I mean, I think, but Hell Let Loose Vietnam's got to be far away. They still haven't even done like alpha or anything like that. So now it's like, I mean, it's a tough place to be right now if you're a Hell Let Loose player.
Oh,
It's so tough.
you remember a couple months ago that playtest that is did on a map called Danzig on a new mode?
Yeah, yeah, that was like not even a finished map, not even
Yeah.
kidding, like literally, like
And it's like, like because that was in the year, right? They were gonna bring
right,
the Polish map of Polish forces, right? And like there was hype because they were introducing a new game that looked interesting. They had the new like map, and the new faction was in the works, and like it's like they completely scrapped that, right? Because now we've heard nothing in regards to that, and they just dropped this bombshell like update 18 on us, and now update 19 in a month, and it's like okay, so like they're obviously scrambling, is what it feels like, to just try and like get what they can out that's finished or close to being finished. Because to be like honest and respectful, this update was nowhere near being finished. This was just
yeah,
we got to get something out. It's been 6 months and flopped on the table, and it was a mess. And now they're trying to
yeah.
backtrack.
I don't even know if they're backtracking. I mean, I haven't seen them pull any. Have they pulled anything back? Have they? They haven't reverted the update. I mean, like they haven't sent a hot fix. I mean, granted, like I'll give them some time, but like, sheesh, dude, like and listen, like if this small links map, which is what's supposed to be in this next update, if this is not complete, don't send it. Take your time. Don't send it. But they ain't gonna take their time because they gotta get every little bit of buys that they can before Hell Let Loose Vietnam comes out. Every single so now they're in a time crunch where like they can't take time. Quite can't take time. Um oh, it's crazy, dude.
It,
Crazy. I mean,
yeah, truthfully,
sheesh. I mean, I
it
could
is.
about Smolensk. I could, but they haven't even done a PTE for it, have
It,
they?
no, they've done nothing. They've shown no visual. As far well, I'm sorry, they may have shown concepts, but they haven't shown like an actual like in-game like flying around the map, giving us like the concept of what the map looks like. And that's what scares me, right? Like they want to release this in November, which is less than a month away, and they haven't even shown concepts, PTEs. Heck, they haven't even demonstrated the new Arty theme, the new Arty vehicle, the SPAs or SPEs, whatever it's called. Like you mentioned earlier, it's insane. Like it's how can you be a company this big and like blunder this bad? Like I can't fathom it. Like it's actually drives me
I can't
insane.
either. I can't either. And here's where I struggle with is like, I look at what they talked about for Hell Let Loose Vietnam, right? And like when I think of Vietnam, these are two forces that like had extremely different fighting styles. This was not like, I mean, when it comes to World War II, very similar, other than Japan, right? But like in the European theater, very similar. Tanks, infantry, fighting like very similar. You had a conventional force fighting an unconventional force in this conflict. And based on what they said, like I'm all for adding additional modes, right? I'm all for like if they're gonna add like something similar to like a search and destroy, if they're gonna add certain things like that. Listen, like I think that from a competitive standpoint, that's 100% needed because like you look at other games like COD and CS and all these games, they're different game modes, right? Like with less people, and I think that like that right there, if you want to have any chance of viability in the competitive scene, you have to do that. But given that, like I look at Hello Lose Vietnam and I can't wrap my brain around this idea that like there's going to be anything close to comp ability in this game because they're way too different. I think the balancing act is going to be way too much, and like it's going to be so different than Hell Let Loose World War II that like I struggle with it, and so I look at this and I'm like, I think that they're gonna split their game base so much. I think like because I think I was talking to someone who plays for ESPT the other day, and he was basically like almost mourning. He was like, "Bro, am I just gonna be on a dead like missing the days of Hell Let Loose competitive because it's gonna be gone." And I could see that happening. I really do. Like, I think that, like, this is a legitimate fear, and it's clear that they don't listen to the competitive side at all. Like, I mean, like, the Artie thing is a clear sign of that. Clear sign of that. Like, isn't that crazy, dude? Isn't that crazy that no one knows? Like, we're a month away, and they're about to unleash something about Artie that's like, it's a contentious issue. It's a contentious issue.
Truthfully, it's insanity. Like it really is what it boils down to. These devs, if they actually genuinely cared for the game and had passion, right? Which I think is what they lack. I think they lack passion because it's not their title, right? They took over, they bought the
Sure.
game. It's not their code, whatever. You could kind of make that argument a little bit, but even still, like people have been able to find passion. They've taken it. These devs have not done that. And so they don't care, right? Because if they cared, they would interact with people that host their own servers and have their pubs set up for the competitive teams that make up over half the player base, I would say, right? If they listened to the competitive players and actually catered to the comps, that would indirectly benefit the public scene. Because who do you think plays in the servers every day? So who do you think seeds mainly the people that are in the communities and like that play comp and whatnot, or run like the FNFs and whatever. You cater to them and you listen to them, you're able to overall help the health of your game. But when you put changes in the game that no one asks for, no one cares about, you end up driving your loyal player base away. I think that's what you're seeing with this update, right? The fact that they've
Yeah.
added things that no one asked for. The fact that there's an update coming out that has things that no one asked for, right? People have been asking for mortars for months, years, and they refuse to add
Years.
mortars. They do the opposite. They add a commander ability that's broken. They have the SBAs, already vehicle that no one asked to add the mortars. That's what people have been asking for. Like it's yeah,
It's
heartbreaking.
insanity, right? Like
Yeah.
they added Stalingrad skirmish and they added like different variants. I think they may have added 5, no, 2. They added 2 skirmish modes to Stalingrad. And I'll be honest, dude, like and I'm asking an honest question. How many times have you played skirmish mode in a pub? Like, I mean, like not very. I I don't hardly see them ever. Like, I don't see any servers running it
It's just the
because
game. Yeah, it's so bad. And
it kills the servers. To run skirmish mode, it kills the servers. Like, I ran a skirmish tournament. Like, there's some interest, there wasn't that much interest. Greyhounds Cup was good. I like Greyhounds Cup, but no one's begging for it. No one's like, give me more skirmish. Like, you know what I mean? No one would. I don't think when skirmish came out, people were really like, yes, skirmish mode. What we've been begging for. Like, no, they were talking about the things that you were talking about. They were talking about mortars. They were talking about balancing armor. Like, this whole front pen thing for the medium Sherman and not being able to front pen for the PZ4 is a real issue. It's a real issue that like and on top of it, like, if you want to say like, well, we didn't worry about that because we were focusing more on the realism side of it. Well, then get the freaking hats right. Like, you know what I mean? It's like they're not doing either. They're not
Right.
doing either. Like the good news is they have added a lot of good things to this update. Invite only locked unit. That's huge. Uh New icon, enemy supplies. This is absolutely critical. It's been something that I've thought about tremendously, so much about. Like, always never been able to mark enemy supplies. And I've been like, man, we really needed a icon for enemy supplies. Um, uh, oh, Widow. The good news is there's been a change in the killed in action screen. Actually, I'm being sarcastic. I do like that I don't have to do WKM anymore in a pub server to figure out who killed me, that it just automatically tells me. That is kinda nice. I do like that, and it tells me how I died, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of nice, but at the same token, like that the whole I'm not sorry, but the whole trademark of Hell Let Loose was that Black Death. I mean, right from
That's a good point. That's a
like
good
you
point.
die and like it's just like you're actually dead. Like it kind of sets them like kind of like a psychological. Oh, oh
Man.
crap! I'm dead. Like my black nothing like another like FPS game. They have a kill. No, it's just dead, and you go back to like the screen. Like you have the swan back in the like, the headshot, right?
That's a good point.
And now they've kind of almost added like a pseudo cam, like a spectator cam, right? Because when you die now, you can actually still hear like the audio, and you can walk in the body, and like it is like a nice change that you can killed you in like the what manner you died in, like a tank or small arms, but like I just feel like it's one of those things that wasn't necessary, right? I think there were more pressing bugs and issues that they could have addressed this. Like this is like something to do when like you've already addressed the major outliers bugs. Like, I just feel like it feels like an unnecessary change, I guess, is the best way I can
Yeah,
describe it.
I would agree. I would agree. Well, I don't think there's any more ragging that I could do. And I'm really not trying to rag. I think like I hope Team 17 watches this. I really do. And I think that, like, I mean, do they take anything from this? I mean, like, at the end of the day, their business. I get it. I really do. I do get it that, like, in if you tell me that, like, hey, we're done with Hell Let Loose World War II, we're moving straight on to the future, and the future is Hell Let Loose Vietnam. I get it. I really do. Hey, go. You got to make money. You got to make a business. But my thought, at least, is like, this is not. I mean, literally, like, you are postponing people playing your game now over stuff that's like bad QA, like clearly bad QA, for an update that took 6 months for things that people didn't ask for. Like, I mean, I could be wrong. There could have been people who asked for it. I don't know anyone who did. I don't. I mean, I think people were perfectly content with never playing Stalingrad again. I mean, Widow. What do you? I mean, I mean, could you have lived without without Stalingrad, dude? I
Oh, I
mean,
mean, like absolutely. I would. I've been wanting to add like maps to the game that are like actually playable. It's like even from like a public perspective, don't like you mentioned earlier, Elson, Mortain, Cobra, El Alamein. So basically, the last 4 maps, or even Brielle, the last 4 to 5 maps they've added are basically they're not played, like not played in pubs, not played in competitive. And it kind of begs the question, you're actually viewing the feedback server owners them and the competitive players. Why do they keep designing maps like this that like the community and like the competitive scene have no interest in, like they marketed Mortain as this, super like dynamic like map with the weather and like there was actually buildings, but what ended up happening is like the urban area we're in like the corner of the map that no one's ever going to play in because they're in the middle of
It's
the map that's
beautiful.
all bushes.
I
Like
love that area too. I think a lot of people like that area, and it's not even like a central part of the map. Like make it the north middle point. Like imagine, like that would have been great. I think that would have been fantastic. And it's just such a missed opportunity to the point where it's forced people in comp to not even play it. People don't play Mortain in comp. People don't play Elsenborn Ridge in comp. They don't play Tobruk. They rarely play El Alamein, and it feels more like it's a meme. And real is just off balance. Like it's just like people like it's clearly off balance. And so like you got 5 of your most recent maps that aren't even really utilized by the competitive scene at all. And if I'm really being honest, like your player base is largely competitive. If you run the numbers, if you do the math, what what brings your revenue for server browsers is competitive. That's what I mean. Like if you're making your money off of renting out servers, it's competitive. That's the key. That's your player base. Like you're going to sell more games to competitive players, no, but you also don't do anything to help with that either because it's not really pushed or publicized, so people don't even know that that's a thing. And that may be something that people are like, well, I would play the game if there's a competitive aspect of it, if there's an esports aspect of it. Like there are people out there who are like looking for the thing that they're good at. I mean, it's part of the reason I think that a lot of people still play Hello Loose is they're like, well, I'm one of the top players in the world for Hello Loose. Like I could be wrong about that, but I see some people who like stick with the grind largely because they're competitive SOBs that just like want to like, and there is nothing wrong with that. I think that's cool actually. I think it's cool that like you're like I don't know if you put it on your resume, but suddenly you could be like, there's a game out there that I am like one of the top players in the world in. Can you imagine, like I can't say that, but there's some people who say that, and I think that's freaking cool. But you do nothing for those people. You do nothing for those people. Like, you know what I mean? Like it
it,
kills me. It kills me.
yeah, it is truly a shame to see that like people that play the game and care about the game are ignored for people that just don't care. Honestly, that's the biggest shame at the end of the day.
It is. Yeah. Well, may just have to leave it at that. And obviously we'll get to see relatively soon, maybe what the response is from Team 17. At least within the next month, they're supposed to be doing this new update. So we'll see what they decide to do, but or what they decide to do with the fixes, because there are a lot of big. We didn't even talk about the window jump either, but yeah, it's crazy. But Widow, dude, you're a legend. Thank you so much for joining. This has become more of the passionate Hello Loose player podcast episode here. Uh, but I mean, you're a dude who can really speak to it, and so I really appreciate you hopping in, dude. Your insight was amazing, dude. So thank you, Widow.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. Honestly, it was awesome. It's been a while since I've been able to kind of sit down with someone and like really talk about like the game. Like, I love this game. I'm passionate about it, and you're passionate about it too with the cast and all of this. So like, being able to sit down and have a conversation about like the future, the current events now, and like what can be done different by like the developer, kind of like save the game, I guess. So this was awesome. I appreciate you having me on this.
Oh, it was my pleasure. And so I'm Sheepdog, and this TPL podcast was produced by Axhawk. So none of this would have been possible without him. He's the one who creates all the overlays. He adds the stupid banner at the bottom that says Sheepdog needs to calm down. Yes, I saw that, Axe. I did see that. Uh, but you're amazing, dude. We love you, dude. And this was brought to you by Quanzer. So if you're looking for a server, be sure to reach out to Quanzer, and they're more than happy to give you discounts if you reach out to them. They've been amazing for not just for TPL but for other Hello Loose tournaments. So, and they've been a big proponent and supporter of the Hello Loose competitive scene. So I'm Sheepdog with Widow, and we bid you adieu.
Hell let loose, where players become legends, and every round is a war zone. Steel, strategy, survival, the grind don't stop and the fire don't fade. Step up